I'm going to cover all our relevant info from the Apple event in September of 2023. First up is the Apple Watch Ultra 2, which costs the same as the iPhone 15. But it's not about the money. Well, it is about the money. You have to show people that you can afford it, right? And how are you going to do that if you don't buy a watch that costs, the same as a phone? You know how easy it is to tell the difference between all of Apple's watches? It's this easy. Like you can clearly tell that there's a approximate half a centimeter difference between one and the others. And that 1 centimeter difference definitely makes it worth twice as much as the next most expensive Apple Watch. But again, you gotta show people that you have money. And how do you do that? This is the way. You buy an $800 Apple Watch. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention about the whole double tap thing. So the expensive watch and the still expensive but not as expensive watch, you get this double tap feature where you can double tap your index finger on your thumb and you can do like different actions and stuff like that. And yeah, Apple decided that the double tap feature should be exclusive and not even available on the SE, which is still being sold in the Apple Store, but does not have that function available. All right, let's jump into the iPhone 15 lineup and elephant in the room. They are switching to Type-C across the whole iPhone lineup, and there is some controversy behind this because the 15 and the 15 Plus will be limited in charging and data transfer to USB 2.0, as opposed to the 15 Pro lineup will be having regular USB 3 speeds, which is the standard for Type-C. And to be honest, if you're planning to get a 15, or if you already have a 15, you should feel lucky that you even have Type-C on an iPhone. And it's only because the EU was like, hey, Apple, switch your phone to Type-C, or you can get the out of the EU. And Apple's like, all right, let's talk battery life because that's kind of what iPhones are known for, or at least one of the things that iPhones are known for. So across the 15 lineup, you should be able to get decent battery life, no matter which one you get. And decent is very subjective. Uh, but the 15 Plus and the 15 Pro Max will definitely give you a few more hours over the regular 15 and the 15 Pro. And that might be surprising because the 15 Pro costs 1K as opposed to the regular 15 and the 15 Plus, which costs a couple $100 less. But that's just the case for the 15 Pro. The battery isn't as big; it's under 4K milliamp hours, so naturally it's not going to last as long as the ones that have over 4K milliamp hours capacity. But the whole gist of battery life on a phone is that you should be able to get through a full day as long as you're not, using it 24/7. Now for some less controversial stuff. The whole 15 lineup will have the dynamic island, so no more notch. And the 15 Pro lineup will have a titanium finish on it. So basically, you can pay a few $100s more, depending on the 15, 15 Plus, to have a slightly more durable phone. And you can look up the differences between titanium and the classic aluminum made for the usual phones. But basically, it's just titanium is a little bit more durable than aluminum. Time for more controversial stuff. So actually, I'm just kidding. The action button isn't so much controversial, but I am really like thrilled to see Apple add it to my iPhone 15 Pro lineup, even though I'm not getting a 15 Pro or any of the iPhones this year for that matter. The first thing though is that it's only available on the Pro lineup. So if you wanted the action button, then you're gonna have to pay basically the standard price of an iPhone these days to get this button. While I do think it's interesting that they added this to the Pro lineup, I do think that they could have done more, but I think in classic Apple fashion, they'll just gradually add more functionality as time goes by. But I would have liked to see like maybe, you want to click it once to, for example, put on silent mode, and then you want to like double tap it to turn on a flashlight, and then maybe you want to hold it to, I don't know, bring up the camera. So I think that there's a lot of work to be done with this button, and I do think that it can be a lot more useful for people who are getting a 15 Pro or the Pro Max. But for now, since just this one action, I think users are going to be pretty limited in what they can do with the button. But yeah, I still think it's a good addition, but over time, hopefully it'll get better. So overall, in the grand scheme of things, there weren't that many changes made to the 15 lineup, but in the whole like differences between the 12, 13, 14, and arguably the 11, there were a lot of massive changes. And I think this 15 lineup will be the best selling iPhone for the past like 3 or 4 generations, at least since probably the 11, because the changes were just big on like Apple's terms, if that makes sense. All right, last up are the AirPods Pros, second generation with Type C included. So that's the long time coming is the Type C, and these things are pretty much 250 across the board, 250 USD. So this is the Apple website, but if you look on Amazon, Best Buy, whatever, they're also going to be 250. So if you have an iPhone that's not a 15 and you want to maintain the same cable, then you can actually get the Lightning version of the AirPods Pros for $50 less at 200. And yeah, I mean those are pretty much the only two products left that were using Lightning. But if you have an iPhone 15 and you want to maintain the same cable, Type C, then you will have to pay the 250, or you can, wait like a year or something for these to go down to 200. But if you have a 15 and you don't mind using different cables for your phone and your AirPods, then you can get the Lightning version, which, like I said, is 200. But it's only on Amazon, so if Amazon's not available to you, then sad. But if it is available to you and you don't mind the difference in cables, then that's always an option. But yeah, that's pretty much the only change made with the AirPods. All right, the last thing I want to cover from the Apple event is iOS 17, and I'm pretty much only going to cover the keyboard because Apple claims that they improved the autocorrect feature of the keyboard, which, I mean, if you're using iOS 17 for a while now and you can sort of attest whether or not that's true. But from my experience, the keyboard has just been absolutely terrible on iPhone. And like I have two phones, so usually if I'm going to message someone on any kind of platform, I will use Gboard on Android, and it's pretty solid. And then whenever I try to do any kind of like thing with the keyboard, like shooting messages or searching something up on iPhone, it's just a terrible experience, at least for me. So hopefully they improved at least the autocorrect, which was really bad. The keyboard, in my opinion, is still missing a lot of key features that Gboard on Android has. And there are third-party keyboards on iPhone. Gboard is actually available on iPhone, but it hasn't been updated. Google has actually stopped updating Gboard on iPhone for a couple of years now. So you've pretty much been stuck with using the default iPhone keyboard for a while. And then there's also SwiftKey from Microsoft, but same thing as Gboard, it also hasn't been updated in a while. So overall, this is the only even like remotely significant change to iOS 17 for me. And hopefully with this slightly better autocorrect, it'll make it a little bit better, but uh, I don't have my hopes up to be honest. But if you want to use a third-party keyboard that doesn't suck so much, and you're also just tired of using the default iPhone keyboard, I would recommend using Fleksy, which is a third-party keyboard that's available on both iPhone and Android. But I'm not gonna go into details, so if you want to try it, you can go ahead. But for me, it pretty much has a lot more features than the default iPhone keyboard, and it can arguably have a better autocorrect too. But it just has a lot more features, and if you find that you don't like it, then you can just go back to the default iPhone keyboard. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.